Horror fans love to talk about the classics, the big slashers, the hit A24 films, the cult favorites everyone already knows. But for every horror movie, there are 10 others that slipped under the radar. Movies that deserved way more attention and never got their moment. Underrated horror is honestly one of the most exciting parts of the genre. These are the films that absolutely shock you and go way above your expectations that you had set for them because you set the bar pretty low and they blew you out of the water. They take risks, they go bleak, they go absolutely wild. And a lot of these just straight up flew under the radar and got overshadowed by more of the mainstream releases. And for that reason, they become so unforgettable, but in all honesty, they are the most memorable movies that you might ever see. So today I'm breaking down 5 underrated horror movies that you need to watch, and this is the second video that I did on underrated movies. I did another one a few months ago, so you can go check that video out if you haven't already. And these films, I think, just need more love. They need more attention. They need to talk about them more. I'm not saying they're niche or you've never heard of them, but I believe they deserve more recognition than they get. So before we get into this, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me to help boost out the channel. But no more yapping. Let's get straight into these 5 underrated horror movies. Our first movie is Session 9 from 2001, one of the most quietly disturbing psychological horror movies ever made. And for some reason, it still does not get the credit it deserves even 20 years later. Session 9 is one of those movies where the setting alone is something that is deeply disturbing. It's shot inside an actual psychiatric hospital, an abandoned one, where a group of people, go in to try to make sure it's safe to live in. And it's just such a creepy vibe when there's nobody in this old rundown hospital. There's no CGI, no jump scares. It's just raw, bleak atmosphere, and it's a slow burn, but it's a creepy, terrifying slow burn. The story follows a team of asbestos cleaners renovating an old mental institution. As they work deeper inside the building, strange things begin happening. Missing items, odd behavior, voices in old therapy tapes, and the line between supernatural influence and psychological breakdown becomes harder to separate. This movie grips you by making you feel like you're losing your mind right alongside the characters. Every room, every hallway, every tape session feels like it's trying to mess with your head. This is psychological horror at its purest. This is one of the best to do it in my opinion. No jump scares, no cheap tricks, just raw messing with your brain to where you don't even understand what's going on. You feel like you're also trapped in this movie with these characters. It's really just a slow descent into paranoia and just losing all grip with reality, and you just don't know what's real and what's fake. The spirits themselves in the actual abandoned hospital feel like they're messing with your brain, not even just the characters in the actual movie, and that's what makes it so brilliant and so terrifying at the same time. This movie traps you into the same mental maze that these characters are stuck in, and I just think that's such a unique way to go about this type of film. And then, of course, the twist at the end is just, whoa, it knock your socks off. It really will. Session 9 became underrated mainly because it had a tiny budget and almost no theatrical release, coming out the same year as bigger horror films that overshadowed it. But over time, it has built a cult following for its atmosphere and psychological depth, especially among filmmakers who consider it a masterclass in tension. You can find Session 9 streaming on Apple and Prime. Our second movie is The Collection from 2012. This is a brutal, fast-paced sequel to The Collector that really doesn't get enough love as it deserves. And even The Collector was in my other video of underrated movies you need to watch. And this one still doesn't get the love that it deserves, just like its first film. The Collection is one of those films and one of those sequels that people really forgot about. But once you actually watch it, you kind of see how special it really is. It takes everything the first movie did well and cranks it up to about 11. I mean, you have the bigger traps, gorier kills, higher stakes, and non-stop pace that never lets you breathe. The story picks up after the events of The Collector, following our returning final boy who barely survived the first nightmare. This time he's forced to team up with a rescue squad after the masked killer kidnaps a new victim and drags her into his twisted underground maze. A sick blend of home invasion, Saw-style traps, and survival horror. The vibe is dark, claustrophobic, and filled with booby traps that feel ripped straight out of the most messed up escape room you can possibly imagine. This movie is criminally forgotten, even though, in my opinion, it's almost as good as the original, like literally right there. Like, The original's a little better, but barely. It's gorier, meaner, and more action-packed. This one could be more like an action movie or a thriller, like insane acting on the stunts that are done in this film. It's actually incredible, but it still keeps that creepy, really tight type of corridors that make the first film so creepy, with their villain being like just a ninja, really. That dude is just insane. His mask, his movement, and the character design itself, it all feels just so iconic. Plus, having the same final boy return just keeps the same vibe and keeps it like a franchise type of thing that pulls all the movies together. So it's cool to see him back, and he's literally the GOAT. Fun fact, this movie went straight to home release internationally and had become a limited theatrical run in the US, which killed its chances of becoming a mainstream hit. It didn't have the studio push or marketing the first film had, so most people didn't even know a sequel existed, which is wild because fans consider it one of the best underrated sequels of the 2010s. You can also find the collection on Apple and Prime. Our third movie is The Lodge from 2019. This is a slow burn psychological movie that crawls under your skin and just refuses to leave. This movie gets pretty uncomfortable where you almost want to turn it off, but don't do it. It's worth it. The Lodge is one of the coldest, bleakest, and kind of darkly unsettling horror films that I've ever seen. This movie doesn't rely on jump scares, kind of like the other ones, but it really relies on just tearing you down and just ruining your day, and just so dark and bleak that you just feel sad. It's a movie that makes you feel suffocated and trapped in the best way possible. The film follows a soon-to-be stepmom who becomes stranded in a remote winter cabin with her fiance's children. As a massive snowstorm locks them inside, strange things begin happening. Objects disappearing, food vanishing, voices echoing through the dark, and the thin line between reality and illusion starts to break. The movie pulls you into its oppressive atmosphere, frozen landscapes, religious trauma, isolation, and a slow unraveling of sanity that makes you feel like you're losing the grip right along with these characters. This film is kind of hard to watch, and that's kind of what makes it so incredible. The acting is top tier. The atmosphere is, again, so dark, and it feels so real. And the psychological horror is very intense, and it just works so well all together with the other elements that make this movie a top tier movie. Every frame feels cold and hopeless, and by the time that twist hits, you're already ruined, and that's just a cherry on top to just go to bed for the day. It's not your typical comfort horror film, but it's definitely one that's going to entertain you and be not a fun time, but it's definitely going to be a movie to watch. And as Jaden Martell in here, I like him. I think he's one of the GOATs. He's one of my favorite actors. So him in there, he does a great job. And this movie will just ruin your day in the best way possible. So go give it a watch. Fun fact, even though it had a festival hype, The Lodge barely got promotion during its release, and its rollout was messy. It was published back multiple times and ended up being stuck between big studio releases, causing it to get overshadowed. Add that to its extremely dark tone, which mainstream audiences weren't expecting, and it quietly slipped into underrated status despite its critical acclaim. Right now, you can watch The Lodge on free on Tubi, so what are you doing? Our fourth movie is Cobweb from 2023. This is a Halloween suburban horror film that's absolutely so fun, and it is like a bedtime story just gone horribly wrong. This one has a surprisingly eerie and creepy atmosphere. Like, it really does feel like someone's telling you a spooky story in the woods. This story blends childhood atmosphere and childhood mystery and fear together into a kind of brings you back to being a child, and you can really put yourself in this kid's shoes, just trying to figure out what's going on in his life, and it's just so well done in that sense. It looks like a family-friendly Halloween movie at first, and then it slowly unravels into something much darker. The story follows a young boy who keeps hearing strange knocking and whispering coming from inside his bedroom walls. His parents brush it off, claiming it's all in his imagination, but as the noises grow louder and more disturbing, he realizes something unnatural might be trapped inside his home. The whole film carries this almost fairy tale-like horror vibe, pumpkin-lit streets, Halloween decorations, and a constant sense that something is very wrong behind the walls of this perfect family household. First off, this movie has incredible atmosphere. It has the Halloween vibe, which I love. It's not set exactly on Halloween, but there's decorations everywhere. There's even a scene where the whole backyard and kitchen is filled with huge pumpkins and they're just carving them, which is awesome. They have like a bunch of pumpkin vines in the backyard just growing all over, which is just so cool. You genuinely feel for this kid. Like, he's such a nice kid and you feel really bad for him, and you're really hooked on this mystery about what's going on behind his walls, and it keeps you hooked the whole time. And even though the ending wasn't really what I was expecting or really wanted them to go, I still didn't think it ruined it or anything, and it still made for a great time, because I mean, it's a scary ending. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. But definitely interesting, and at least with that being said, you will not expect the ending. I can almost be 100% sure. It's a fun, moody Halloween watch, and honestly, one of my staples that I watch every October now. So I definitely would recommend you go give it a watch. Even though it had a strong cast and a Halloween vibe perfect for October, Cobweb unfortunately released the same weekend as Barbie and Oppenheimer, instantly burying it. So between competition and almost zero marketing, it became one of 2023's most overlooked horror releases, despite positive reactions from genre fans and from me. Cobweb is currently streaming on Tubi and Netflix. Our fifth movie is The Houses October Built from 2014. This is a found footage, haunted attraction, Halloween vibe movie that is a little on the low budget side, but it's one of my favorites and it's a whole lot of fun. The Houses October Built is one of those movies that perfectly captures that vibe and energy of Halloween. You know, going to haunted attractions. These people are driving everywhere trying to find the scariest haunted attractions, and that's just so fun to be, you know, with these people. I mean, they're funny, they're silly little characters, and you just see all the costumes that you normally see at haunted attractions, the clowns, everything like that, which is super fun. And then with that being said, it is fun. It is, you know, a great time, especially if you're a Halloween fan. But then it does take a turn to something more disturbing and actually very creepy and scary. There are some scary costume designs. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you love found footage or horror movies that feel way too real, this one is going to be perfect for you. The film follows a group of friends traveling across the country to find the scariest, most extreme haunted attractions. At first, it's all fun, documenting each haunt, joking around, enjoying the Halloween vibes, but the deeper they go into the underground world of extreme haunts, the more they realize they're being followed and hunted. The final act takes a sharp, terrifying turn that feels raw, claustrophobic, and way too believable. This is one of my personal favorites, and it doesn't have, you know, the best ratings, or really never gets talked about at all. I feel like I'm the only one ever talking about this movie, but I really think the vibe and the story is just such a fun time. The cast feels natural. The found footage style works very nicely, and it's believable that these people would be, you know, documenting this road trip. And the characters they run into, especially that porcelain doll, make this movie pretty scary. This movie is one of those ones I definitely recommend to watch with some friends in October before going out to an actual haunted house attraction, thinking that this might actually happen to you. I've done it multiple times. I recommend watch it, go to a haunted attraction. It'll be the best day of your life. It's not just scary, but it balances fear and being fun, which makes it so unforgettable, but for some reason, no one ever remembers it. Fun fact, the filmmakers actually visited real haunted attractions during filming, blending staged scares with authentic reactions and environments. That's why the movie feels so immersive and so real. It blurs the line between documentary and horror in a way that sets it apart from most found footage films. The Houses October Built is currently available on Tubi, Pluto TV, and Zumo, all for free. Alright, so there are 5 more underrated horror movies that you need to watch, but if I had to pick just one for you to watch out of this whole list, I'd go with Session 9 from 2001. Honestly, it's just so well done. The story, the atmosphere, the way it messes with your mind, it's just so... It is really one of those... It's like a one-of-a-kind movie that just slips so far into the radar for some reason. The tapes are genuinely unsettling, and the actual setting of the asylum is super terrifying and kind of makes you scared just watching these characters be in this place. Not only because it seems haunted, it seems scary, but also there's asbestos in the walls that they're cleaning, so they might just die. And that twist just really adds an extra layer of unsettling that sticks with you long after the movie ends. You'll be thinking about this one for a few days. It's perfect for a late night watch, especially if you're looking for a horror movie that's less jump scare and more psychological based and really just plays with your mind a whole lot. This one rewards patience and attention to detail. This is one you want to watch with the headphones on, you know, right close to the TV in the dark, and it would be perfect. I could easily go with some of my favorites here. I know you have Cobweb, The House of October Bill, all those October movies that I love, but Session 9 is so unique in the way that it feels so well done, and it is almost a perfect movie that never gets talked about. I mean, the tension, the atmosphere, the scares, it's all there, and I definitely want it to get more attention. If you've seen any of these films, let me know which one is your personal favorite down in the comments below. Let me know any underrated horror movies that I missed, or they might be in my other video, but if I missed any, let me know down below. Drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or you might end up in the Session 9 abandoned asylum. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a blessed day. And